Welcome to the Bronx Hip Hop Oral History Project. Today is Saturday, April 13th, 2024. I am Pastor Crespo Jr., the research librarian for the Bronx County Historical Society. And today I am joined by Elio Perez, also known as Spinner, a dancer, pioneering b-boy, and member of the Dynamic Rockers. Welcome, Elio. How are you?
Thank you. I feel great. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. And I look forward to answering all your questions and anything you need to know about Dynamic and our history. I'll be more than happy to answer.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. But before we talk about Dynamic and b-boying, we like to ask all of our interviewees about their family background and history. Where do your parents come from?
Sure. We are originally, grandparents were from Spain. They migrated to Cuba. I was born in Cuba, in Matanzas. We lived there at the beginning of my life. I came here when I was 3 years old, and I've been living in Queens most of my life. Actually, that's not true. Back and forth between Queens, Miami, and California. We bounced around a lot in the beginning, but we've settled in Astoria for most of our lives. And that's where my history of b-boying began, in Astoria. Not in the Bronx or Manhattan or anything like that. B-boying was all around New York. It did originate in the Bronx and Manhattan, but it spread like fire. And we were all gracious enough and lucky enough to be a part of it. I'm blessed. It wasn't about the money. It wasn't about being famous or anything like that. It was about doing what I like to do the most, and it was dancing. And that's what brought me to Dynamic.
Awesome. Awesome. Do your parents ever talk about Matanzas and Cuba? And can you tell us about any of the memories that they...
They only remind me of the things that I used to do as a child, my little bratish behaviors, the land. They used to drain the swamp every now and then, and little crabs used to run around. I used to love playing with the crabs. I don't have much that I remember because I did come at a young age. I think I was 2.5, maybe 3 years old. But from what I do remember, it's a beautiful country. I wish it was better circumstances there and I could visit more often, but I wish I could go back soon. It'd be nice to be there. And I like to see where the hip hop culture is in Cuba, because there is, believe it or not, there's b-boys, there's poppers, there's MCs, there's DJs in Cuba. I didn't know about this. I recently found out about that. And I want to go there and meet them and let them know that I was a part of it and find out what they've done and how they've progressed in hip hop. Because to us, it's like, to me, we gave birth to this thing. I want to know where it's at, not just in my country, but all over. But if I have the opportunity to go back home and see what it's done for my people, it'll be great. It'll be a beautiful thing.
That is awesome. All right, 2.5, 3 years old. What year was that when you ended up?
The 70s. I was born in 66, so you figure 69, 70 we came here.
Got it. All right, great. And did your parents ever speak about the reason why?
Sure.
Did your parents ever speak about the reasons why they came to the U.S.?
Yeah, to progress. Things were tough in Cuba with the communism and everything. We were lucky. In the beginning, my father was part of the armed forces, so we did not, I'm not going to sit here and say we lived a bad life, because we had a beautiful home. We had a maid and everything. But at one point, when the government changed, my father was actually arrested and sent to the sugarcane field to cut sugarcane for 2 years. At this time is when my mother was pregnant with me. So after my father was finally pardoned and allowed to go home, he walked in. He didn't know who I was. Who's that little guy? That's your son. He was born while you were gone. So he was blessed twice, once with his freedom and once with a new boy. And his first thing he said is, we're out of here. Let's pack up and we're going to leave. I have a cousin who lives in Miami and gave us permission to go there. So we had to get sponsored by some family here in the United States to go over there. And we ended up Miami. I guess all Cubans end up in Miami for some reason, but that was where we ended up.
That's awesome. I did see the picture of your father in uniform on your Facebook.
Yeah.
You know, in the Cuban Air Force.
Yes, sir.
Wow. Can I use that when I
Absolutely.
edit the video?
Absolutely.
That way you give him respect, and we
Yes,
know
sir. That would be great.
where one of the pioneering B-boys came from. Awesome.
Thank you for that.
Thank you so much. You know, so you're in Astoria, Queens. You're growing up as a young kid. What music are your parents influencing you with at home?
My parents, of course, Cuban salsa, merengue. My sister, my brother, they're older than me. They were into hustling, and they would hustle every single day. I thought that was going to be what I was going to end up doing, hustling, because that's all they did. But unfortunately, I didn't have a partner. But my parents, they were into salsa, merengue, Spanish music, and boy, did they dance. Every single party, from the minute we walked in till we left, my parents were dancing. That's what I remember most and what I miss most about my family, watching my mom and dad dance together. It was really beautiful. That's basically what they taught me, Spanish music. The English music I picked up here. When I first started, it wasn't hip hop. It wasn't rapping. It was rock and roll. I liked Led Zeppelin, Kiss, a bunch of rock groups. And I used to go to concerts, and I had long hair. I used to wear denim jackets with the back, with the acrylics at the rock groups and everything. It was all rock and roll. I would have never thought that I would be into, well, first it started with disco, then all the other types of dances, then hip hop just fell on my lap. You know, it was something new that came about. We started hearing the music. We started hearing the beats, and it's you stand there and you hear the beats, and you can't help it. It comes in you, and it makes you want to do something. And it makes your body want to express itself. So when the music is hitting you, you can't just stand there and dance. This music, because they were break beats that we were dancing to, made you do much more than just stand there and dance. Made you just want to exert a lot more energy. And I guess that's where b-boying started. Just standing there and dancing wasn't enough. We had to explode. And b-boying exploded. And that's, to me, how it started growing little by little into what it is now.
Okay. You know, yeah, let's dive into it. But before we do that, what's your neighborhood? Where are you from in Astoria?
Let me see. I live by Astoria Park, predominantly Greek and Italian neighborhood. It's very quiet, very, very expensive. Don't own a car. You'll never find parking, but it's a beautiful neighborhood, nice people. And what I like most about Astoria, it's a big mixture. We have Brazilian, Cuban, Puerto Rican, white, black, Chinese. Everything's mixed in Astoria. And it's a nice neighborhood because we all get along great. You don't hear anything going on in Astoria, anything racial, that white guys are going after black guys or Spanish against this. It's nothing like that. We're all united. We all get along. That's the best thing Astoria has going for it, is that it's like one big pot of every nationality you could think of. And we all get along really well.
Wow, that is so cool. Could you talk to me about the different schools you attended in your neighborhood? Which schools were that? Your elementary?
I went to a bunch of, well, in the beginning, because I was a little brat when I was a child, so my parents wanted to put me in check. So I went to Catholic school.
Okay.
They put me in Catholic school for most of my life. I went to St. Rita's my whole life. Then when I graduated, my first high school was aviation. I got my licenses. I went to work in California for about a year as a mechanic on airlines. That fell through. They went out of business. Chapter 11, I ended up back in New York, walking around. What am I going to do with myself? You know, and I meet up with a bunch of friends that I used to play handball with and basketball with in the park. And they're like, hey, we're going to go to this club this weekend. You want to come with us? You know, there's a new dance out. We want to check it out. So I'm like, all right. So it was myself, Wavy Legs, Kid Freeze, Nelly Nell, Chi Chi, a bunch of the old school guys, Electro, the Queens division of, we were not, well, I wouldn't even say we were dynamic because I wasn't in dynamic yet. I just went with these guys to this club and I got to experience breakdancing for the first time. And though it was raw and it wasn't what it is today, just the moves back then were enough to entice me to want to do more of it, to learn more of it. And that club started it. But then one night, myself, Wavy Legs, and Kid Freeze, we were like the three that always hung out together, ended up at the roller skating rink, USA. And that night, Crazy Legs showed up with Frosty Freeze.
What year was that?
This was in the late 70s. I say 78, maybe 79.
Okay.
And we bumped into them. Kid Freeze was like our traveling B-boy. Kid Freeze was all over the place. He was with every crew. He knew everybody. He blended with everyone. So when they came there, we connected with Kid Freeze. He introduced us to Crazy Legs and Frosty. Unfortunately, when we met, I was impressed by their dancing a lot, but their personalities kind of ruined whatever good effect the dancing led on me. The personalities and the way they consider themselves as number one and nobody else existed, that's what threw me off. But it gave me more of an incentive to become a B-boy, a really good B-boy, so I could have something I could present to the floor that could show them that, yeah, we could do this here too. And that's what we started doing. They called us biters because they were the first ones doing it and we did their styles. But you have to remember, everything originates somewhere. Everything starts somewhere. And not that they started, but they were the first ones that I saw do it. So I mimicked them because I liked the dance. I liked the way it looked. I thought it was really cool. I didn't think I was going to get bashed, but it's okay. It's part of life. It helped me become a stronger B-boy. And every day I trained. We trained 6 hours a day, every single day of our lives, just to become a better crew. And Kid Freeze and Wavy Legs invited me to the crew, so they introduced me to Glide. Mr. Freeze, which is his brother George. There was Pierre, Javier, and about 5 or 6 other guys that were in the Manhattan and the Bronx division. We used to meet up at a dance hall in Queens. I'm trying to remember the name of it. But it was a dance studio, and
Carousel?
we used to go there. Carousel. Thank you. Yes. We used to go there and battle every week just to make each other better. And my week I went, and they brought me as a secret weapon because Glide and them had never seen me. And we battled that night. And that's when we started discussing what we're going to do with the crew. We weren't sure at that time was between Eddie Ed and where we chose Glide as a leader. Eddie Ed was the leader at the time, but he wasn't, how could I say, not focused, but he didn't have enough time to devote to the crew. He did what he could, and he did a great job. I mean, the guy was my guy. But we had to find someone who could help us get places, who we could move forward with, because all the other crews were starting to leave us behind. So we found Larita, who is Timok, the gentleman in the movie The Last Dragon.
Right.
It's his mother. His mother was our manager. So we found her through George, and she was the one who hooked up all our gigs. And it was good having her as manager. She was a very funny lady, good people. I just wish we went more of a professional route and found a real manager, like a real showbiz manager. She was in the business and she knew a lot about it. And she had a lot of clout and knew a lot of people, but she wasn't a manager.
What was her name?
Larita?
Larita.
Yeah, I can't remember her last name, but if you look it up in Time Mock, it should be in Time Mock's movie. I got to meet Time Mock, great guy. Family was incredible, nice people. She was a great lady. I mean, I loved her to death, but that's what, to me, kept us from being the dynamic we should have been with management. We needed better management. Rocksteady, I think they had Lady Blue. She helped them out. They a lot. New York City Breakers had Michael Holman. Michael Holman took them places. We needed somebody like that. And if we would have had that, dynamic would have been a lot different. We would have been in Beat Street. Beat Street was supposed to be, I believe it was one of our movies, and we missed out on that because at that time, dynamic had split up. I don't know if they told you about the split up, but
yeah.
There was a big breakdance contest for the movie Beach Street, and we all entered together. And then the finals, when we got to the finals, we showed up in our uniform. Then all of a sudden, the rest of the guys showed up dressed differently. And at that point is when we got in the back, and
What year was that?
they went in. I don't quite remember. It was just before the 80s because it was before Beach Street. It was the audition for Beach Street at the Roxy. And they ended up winning. I don't know how, but they took it. I said it was fixed. Don't count it, on that, but they didn't win. It was mostly tricks, and Spider was a spider. Then they used some kind of raid spray, and they made it comical, entertaining, and that's what got the judges to pick them, I think, because they were entertaining.
Got it.
And that's what they were going for, the entertainment part of it, and they made people laugh and stuff like that, but it was not people.
All right, so 1979. Who was part of Dynamic Rockers alongside with you, if you don't mind going through?
The main Dynamic Rockers was myself, Wavy Legs, Kid Freeze, Mr. Glide. Those were the four main guys. And then we had the junior division with Alfred, Abby, Richie, Professor, Alex. Then there was another division with another like 10 or 15 other guys. We brought on juniors and we would teach them. Then at one point we actually started getting a lot of work. So we would do some jobs and we would send the juniors over to do other jobs, and try to share the wealth with everybody, with the whole crew. So it wasn't, so they wouldn't think, oh, they're using us or anything like that. No, we wanted everybody to know that they're included, that we're all part of the family. It's not just us four because we were the first four. We're all included. We're all part of the crew.
And who were the members, who broke off, who started the Dynamic Breakers, during that Beach Street audition?
That was, Dynamic Breakers was Airborne, Spider, Deuce. The girls, one of them was my ex-girlfriend. I won't even mention the name, but she went over to their crew. Susie, who was one of the girlfriends, Connell's girlfriend. Connell was one of the freestyle dancers that did all the flippings, him and Flip. Used to do a lot of flipping and aerial moves and balancing moves. They were really good. I'll give them that. What they did, they were really good. Airborne was an excellent gymnast. Spider was the first contortionist that I remember in b-boying. And Deuce was a head spinner and more of a power breaker who was taught by Kid Freeze. So whatever he learned, he got from Kid Freeze, and they all went on and they signed with another company and they came up with Dynamic Breakers. Now, I have no problem with them moving on and doing better for themselves. Very happy for all of them. They were my brothers, every single one of them. My problem was always, don't take our name. That's our name. We earned that name. I've been using that name since the 70s. We brought you guys on in the 80s. And though I respect you and I welcomed you to the crew, and you're welcome to leave, and I wish you because I wish them the best of luck. I want them to be successful, but do it on your own. Work for it. We worked for it. We're the ones who did all these battles. We're the ones who went into all these projects and got shot at, got chased. Sometimes it got violent. Not always. For the most part, it was decent. We battled, it was over. And you could never really say who won because the other crew's going to get upset. And that's what starts a lot of problems. When we battled Rocksteady at USA, at the end of the battle, we smoked them badly. I went to the DJ. What are your thoughts? He says, you guys killed them, but I can't give it to you. And I'm like, well, why not? He goes, because what's going to happen after? What do you think? They're going to take it in stride and walk out and, oh, we lost and everything's okay? No, something's going to happen. And he was afraid that a fight would break out or something. So he called it a tie. And we're like, all right, whatever, we'll go with it. It wasn't the end of the world for us. So it's a tie, no big deal. Then about a year later, I see an interview where they're interviewing Crazy Legs in the back, and he goes, how could it be a tie in your own home? In your own home, you're supposed to smoke us. So if it's a tie, we actually beat you. So Spinner, Glide, he called us out by name. He goes, you guys all lost. We beat you guys. whatever. Okay, if that's what you think, you won. But they got smoked. And I told them personally, listen, the reason why this happened was because we're trying to avoid problems. We didn't want a big fight to break out. The management didn't want a fight to break out. You don't win anything. But if that's what you think, all right. I'm not going to fight somebody, try to convince them of something that's not true.
Right.
It's not my job. So we left it at that. Then a couple of weeks later, we had a competition there. I took it. And I created a new move. I used to spin on my back. And it's not a big move, but it was almost like a track and backspin into a head spin in one shot. And I spun almost 10 times. I took that contest. And he came up to me and was like, oh, was that luck? Or did you make that move up? And I'm like, no, I've been working on that for a while. And I did. That was like one of my patent moves. And he goes, that was really hot. Congratulations. The first time and the last time the guy ever gave me credit for anything.
Awesome.
But it was really cool. I won first prize. And we went on from there. Then we came up with the battle against the New York City Breakers, who were the floor lords at the time.
What year was this?
That was a great battle. That was, I'm going to say it was after Rocksteady, because all my years are all mixed up right now. Okay. But I know it was for That's Incredible, and we went against the New York City Breakers, who were at that time, they were part of New York and Canada, because they had the Canadian Floor Masters with Buddha in them. Hi, Buddha. With Buddha in them, and there were two crews, but then New York City Breakers were doing so well. They're a great crew. They're my friends. I've always gotten along with all of them, with Chino, with Pax. Don't get me wrong, we battled, oh, we're going to kill each other on the dance floor.
Who was there during that battle from the New York City Breakers?
Well, here's my problem. We never battled crews. We battled crews with an S at the end.
Gotcha.
We battled Floor Masters, New York City Breakers, Incredible Breakers, and Flex, who they brought over from Florida. Flex was really good. So he's like one of their VIP guys from Florida came down. Chino and Brian were incredible. These guys were really good. Two little brothers on the dance floor, very powerful. They were part of the Ball Busters. Ball Busters back then was a Dominican gang they had uptown Manhattan. They ran most of that. And them and Zulu were like the two gangs back then. We strayed away from them. We weren't part of them. I knew members, but I mind my business. I was a good kid. I didn't want any problems. One of my main concerns that I always pointed out is that when we battled a lot of these crew, which is supposed to be without the S at the end, I thought we were battling one crew. When we went against the Floor Masters, there was Floor Masters, New York City Breakers, Incredible Breakers, Flex. You got four. Dynamic is one. And Dynamic is always represented by our four main guys, which was myself, Wavy, Kid Freeze, and Glide. We were at every single battle. When you battled Dynamic every single time. When we battled Rocksteady at Lincoln Center, they brought in Little Left. They brought in Mingle Rock, their up rocker, because they didn't have the Brooklyn Rockers. They brought in a bunch of guys. And that's always what it was. When we were battling Rocksteady, it was never quite Rocksteady. To me, Rocksteady is Crazy Legs, Frosty, Kenny, Mr. Freeze, Flip, a couple of other guys. But then when you show up to the battles, they got like 30 or 40 guys that you've never seen before. And these are guys that they brought in to battle us. Why? If we're biters and we're not that good, why do you need to bring all these other guys in for us? We're just regular guys from Queens. But that's how it turned out, a lot of our battles. And we saw that happen to other crews. We were in Coney Island once. The guy's name was Manny. He was an up rocker, a broken rocker. And he was on the Coney Island pier, and he was battling a whole crew by himself. I'm trying to remember what crew, but I know Break Till Dawn was involved, and there was, I don't know if it was Dynasty or another up rock crew. I don't want to mix them up. Definitely Manny, though. I remember you, Manny. And we joined in. And we're like, yo, who's in your crew? He goes, I'm by myself. I'm like, who are you battling? I'm like, all of them. I'm like, no, you're not. We are. Let's go. And we went and we battled them. And it was over. Became really good friends with him, and he invited us to a party at his projects that weekend. And he introduced us to all his people. So our crew kind of became really good friends with his crew. And that's what we were. We're like, we didn't like to see abuse. One guy, and I give him a lot of credit, a lot of heart, because to go against the whole crew by yourself isn't easy. I had to do it once against my own crew. A long time ago, we had a little in my crew between me and the guys. And I'm trying to remember why it all started, but it was me and Glide. And I was at Roseland, and I went out to dance, and then Dynamic went out against me. And I battled my own crew. I battled 20-something guys. And I did really well. Your poppers, nothing. But it was fun. After we all made up and we discussed what was going on and everything. And that's one good thing about the crew. We always had an open door. You got a problem? Talk about it. Unfortunately, right now, there's something going on with Kid Freeze and them. I don't want to be a part of that. But we always talked. We always had an open door. It was always like that. I had an issue one time. Oh, at that very same time, when all that happened, that I battled Dynamic, we kind of split up, me from them, because I didn't appreciate being attacked by so many people. So we were at practice, and Glide came up to me and he gave me a hug, and he goes, "You're my brother, and I'm sorry, and you're always going to be Dynamic. Anytime you need us, we'll welcome you back with our arms open." That meant so much to me. They brought me back to the practices and getting back down with Dynamic and dancing with them. It was great. It was a great experience. I love being a part of it. I love being part of hip-hop history. I got to meet all these rappers, all these guys, these DJs. These are all my guys.
Tell us about who you met and when and your experience.
Let me see. We used to dance. What were their names? Oh, God. Shannon, the one who sings Let the Music Play.
Right.
We used to be a backup dancers for me and Wavy Legs. And one of the practices, Wavy Legs accidentally kicked her. So we lost that gig. We danced with Two Sisters. We danced with a lot of hip hop crews as backup dancers. But most of the shows that we did was us, our talent. Their music, but our talent. Concerts, we did a few concerts, hip hop concerts, but those are mainly to shine hip hop artists, rappers, and stuff like that. Now they started doing events where they do everything. They have DJing, they have the rappers, they have the graffiti artists, they have the b-boys, but they're leaving out poppers a lot. And poppers are a part of, to me, it's part of breaking as well.
Okay.
Because it was another form of it. It's not on the floor, you're not spinning on your head, but it's a dance that came from hip hop, it derived from hip hop. So it should be included. I don't see enough battles with popping involved. That's where it comes down to Pop and Pete and the California guys that started the Boogaloo. They got to speak up a little bit more, I think, because people listen to them. They got a big following.
Awesome.
The Boogaloos, big following. Great bunch of guys too, very talented. Just different style of dancing. I like Boogaloo. It's a nice dance in between moves or tricks, but Boogaloo is not like a constant dance. I can't watch somebody Boogaloo for 15 minutes. I'll fall asleep.
Okay.
And I told that to Pete himself. I'm like, it's a great dance. Boogaloo Sam, who created it, great dancer, so smooth. It's boring. I'm sorry, I like tricks. So he says, everyone's got their own way of dancing. But when you watch the Chinese dancers and the Japanese dancers that have been influenced by Pete, there are a bunch of Petes. That's it. So you go there, you see a bunch of popping Petes. And I like everyone to have some kind of originality, something different. There's a guy named MT Pop. If you ever get a chance, I want you to look him up.
Okay.
He does tricks. He's a popper. He's unbelievable. He's not your average popper. He's not going to stand there and boogaloo and do waves. He does tricks that make you, did he just do it? I think he did. Guy's great.
Okay, so you mentioned popping and as being part of breakdancing. Tell me about the different elements of breakdancing. What forms breakdancing, the different parts, up rocking, floor rocking,
right.
In your words.
When we first started, breakdancing wasn't even a word. It was, what we did was called rocking. And the Brooklyn Rockers, they questioned that as well because they call what they do rocking, up rocking. So did I. We called them Brooklyn Rockers, the Up Rockers. But breaking to us, we called it rocking, dynamic rockers. We were rockers. We rocked on the floor. There were Brooklyn rockers that rocked on top. So that's where we came up with the rocking name. But a lot of people came out to b-boying or breakdancing. That's commercialized. That's television. That's money.
Gotcha.
That's where it came from. But breakdancing, to me, was always rocking.
What does being a b-boy mean to you?
You dance to breaks of a beat in music. It's certain songs stop the lyricals and it's just music. That's what makes you a b-boy. You're dancing to those breaks. It's funny because poppers also dance to those breaks, but we're called poppers. I guess because we hit the popping motion.
Right.
That's why they call them popping.
And what does the B? I know it kind of seems a little, basic. What does the B in b-boy mean?
Break.
Awesome.
Break boy.
Awesome.
Break.
Now you were mentioning earlier that you guys went through some hairy situations, visiting other projects. Tell me about the most memorable projects you went to look for battles and why.
There was one by Lincoln Center. The project's right behind Lincoln Center. We didn't go looking for it. We were just there, and if somebody was dancing, we tried to join them. But with breakdancing, it's such a combative dance that even if you're trying to join them and dance with them, it gives the illusion that you're dancing against them. So even though it doesn't start off as something that's combative, it turns into it.
Right.
So people take it different ways. I love it though. Like even uprocking, I learned how to uprock. I wasn't very good at it, but I liked the idea. It was pretty cool. Fighting without hitting each other. Sometimes people would slip and things happen, but we had a battle one time by Lincoln Center at the project behind it, and there was a shootout there. Not fun running away from bullets. We battled the Freeman boys in Brooklyn at a park, and we were doing very well. They were more of a gang than a breakdance crew.
The Freeman boys?
Yeah. They were more of a gang that started dancing and tried to be b-boys, but they weren't really b-boys. They were thugs. So we were battling them. We were winning. One of our oldest dancers, Nelly Nell, has been around forever. He was doing really good, and they're dancing. You're near each other's face. The guy didn't like it. He smacked my guy in the face. No, he was a little skinny kid. He was nobody. His brother, much bigger, punched the guy, and then all of a sudden guns came out, and we're running for our lives. And that was the freedom. Well, they just didn't like the idea of losing or somebody getting slapped, and they took a couple of shots at us. Glide's been shot. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. I don't know if you want.
He's mentioned it.
Okay. Unfortunately, he had all my clothes on that night, but
you were there. You don't mind talking about that?
No, I wasn't there. I wasn't there.
Okay.
He borrowed, like, at that time I don't remember the Webbel time, the Webbel pants, the big. Well, I had a nice outfit set up, whatever, and they were going out after a show. I wasn't going. I had very strict Cuban parents, so we did the show. I came home. He asked me for the suit. I left it with him. And the very next morning, I woke up and my mother's hysterical crying in the kitchen. Victor's been shot. He's in the hospital. I grabbed my stuff and I went off to the hospital. And I saw him. Very lucky. We were at the 59th Street pool by Columbus Park. Mm-hmm. And they tried to steal his radio. So before he gave up the radio, he slammed it on the floor. And now you could have it. And they shot him. But when they shot him, he's lucky that he turned because it basically went in this way, just missed his jugular, and went out the shoulder. So it just went through on the outside and then went out the shoulder. And he survived. He was okay. He was in the hospital for a little while, but he came out of it okay. And it brought us to reality, made things tougher for me because I got the strict Cuban parents. Somebody gets shot, they don't want me to do it anymore. So that's the only thing I regret, and I've learned a lot from that as a parent. Support your kids. If you got kids and they want to do something and it's positive, support them. They'll go places. If you don't support them, they're going to give up. And then you're going to teach kids who are going to be kids that give up on stuff. back them up. I didn't have that. You know, luckily I had enough drive in me that I wanted to do it. But if your parents or someone who you respect or your elders don't give you a little bit of support, then you're not going to know what you're doing is worthwhile. You're not going to pursue it as much as you should. And I didn't have that. My sister used to come with her husband. That was my main support. My brother would come once in a while, but my parents wanted nothing to do with it. I wish they did. It would have meant a lot.
Speaking from a parent. So, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Talk about B-boy anthems. You know, which was your jam? You know, you talked about, you heard that, and it hyped you up.
Apache's the jam for all B-boys. Apache. That's the jam. That's the ultimate jam for whatever. And yeah, it's Apache. Now for popping, shoot, play at your own risk. See, I dance. It's funny because I'm not your average popper. I don't dance to electronic music. I dance to freestyle music. So like play at your own risk. I used to dance to that. Planet Rock with a little bit digital. I used to dance to that. Hip hop, bebop. Love that dance by Matronic. Used to dance to that. Sea Banks, Get Wet. Not a popping song, but I danced to it. Those were my songs. Numbers, of course.
Numbers, wow.
Numbers was a song. Trans Europe Express. Oh, those songs, of course, popping songs.
Got it.
And in popping, my attributes would be my waves and my robots. I think I had one of the best robots around. I never met anybody to compete with my robots. Or waves, yeah, but I have good waves.
Got it. So you did popping, you did waves, you did
locking.
The robot.
I learned how to lock like rerun.
Got
locking. I had to.
Rerun from What's Happening.
Yes, Fred Berry. Him, and one of my, I'm going to call him a student, even though he's going to deny it. His name is Bam Bam. He's a really famous pop right now. He's got a school in Maryland. Okay. Great dancer, taught me a lot too. We shared a lot. Him and Fred Berry had a school for a while in the city, in Locking. They were going to open up, and they were at the very beginnings when he caught the heart attack. He passed away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was a big loss for us. He was a nice guy, really nice guy, and a good dancer.
That is an awesome connection for you to bring that name up and you know, memorialize him.
I wish. They're doing that now with Lou Spruce. I don't know if you heard recently, Lou Spruce.
No, talk to me about it.
He's a popper. He's a legend. Passed away last week.
Was he down with any crew? Where was he from?
No, just a dancer. He was just a dancer. One of the first poppers that I ever heard of. And I met him at an audition that I went to. And I was with a bunch of guys that were comical. So I used to have, my hair was always different colors. I wore the California look. I was more of a California popper.
Okay.
Their style. Like if you watch Breaking and with all that crazy stuff, that's how I used to dress. And they weren't like that. They were more of that New York hip-hop tough guy, Kango, Gazelles, the Adidas with the Lees. They were that look. So they thought my friends were all liars and they wanted to have fun. So at the audition, they told everybody I was a West Coast dancer. And they shook because West Coast dancers are known to be the best.
Right, right.
Even Louis Priest was shaking. And he knew me. And at the audition, he goes, I'm no West Coast dancer. And I'm like, we're just having fun, bro. He goes, I'm about to call you out. I'm like, well, we can still do it. We danced with each other a few times. Good guy.
Awesome, awesome.
It starts somewhere, you know, and he's like, it was a start.
Got it. So spinner, right? Is that a power move for you?
I was given that name by one of our Brooklyn rockers because when I was a breakdancer, I did both. I did breaking and I did popping. Popping I thought was harder and I enjoyed it more. But breaking that's my foundation. That's how I started. So I was called spinner by Junie June, who was one of the best up rockers I've ever met. He said all of my moves are spinning, and they did. I spun on my head, I spun on my back, I did elbow spins. Everything involved spinning. There's even a move I called it the tornado, that Frosty Freeze used to do a lot, where he spun on the floor, but he was on his legs, and he used to spin like a top. He looked like a top.
Right.
I liked the move so much that I bit it. Yes, I bit your move. Rest in peace. I love you. And he was a good friend, and he used to always bust my chops because My son was a dancer, so when we used to go to events, we used to hang out together. And he goes, "Your dad stole my move. Your dad stole my move." And
That's a
I was
cool
like,
story.
"But I did it better." I'm like, that's the difference. If I didn't do it as good, that you could talk, but I did it better. It was okay. Frosty was a little bipolar, but he was a great guy. I loved him. I loved Frosty. Frosty was a big loss to all of us. Even though when we battled them, they were our enemies, wanted to kill each other, but he was a really good guy.
What were some of your most memorable clubs and why?
Bonds was one of them because of all the shows we did there.
Bonds International.
Yes. Bonds was just different. I didn't even consider it. It was just so big, so much going on all the time, and we always worked there. So we did a lot of work at Bonds. Webster Hall, because of its craziness. It was a weird, crazy club. We also danced at a Plato's Retreat. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
Yes.
Yeah, we did 2 years at Plato's. That was something, crazy place.
Where's Plato's Retreat at?
34th between 10th and 11th. That's where it used to be. It's closed down since then. It was owned by a guy named Mush. He was actually locked up for racketeering or something. And he used to come on once a week on a recording and welcome everybody to the club. And it was a spa, a spa.
Right.
Happy endings and everything. It was a crazy place. And we didn't make a lot of money there, but the fringes were great. I mean, we were young kids. You see girls, you're like, oh my God. It was different. It wasn't rated R or rated PG. It was definitely one of those places for adults. And we got in there because of our dancing. But in the long run, we lost it to stupidity because there was a guaranteed gig every week. We'd each make $200-$300 every week, 5 minutes of work. It was cake. And they had a game room, and we had invited people with us, guests, because we were allowed to bring people. We had like a little entourage. Well, somebody in our entourage decided it'd be really cool to break into one of the machines and steal the quarters. So we lost the job. We had 2 years in that job every single week making money. And we lost it because of somebody who couldn't act right.
Wow.
Yeah, I miss that place. That place is a lot of fun.
That has to be one of the most. This is only the fourth oral history that I've done with a b-boy and a rocker.
Yeah.
And that has to be one of the most unique venues I've ever heard of.
Oh. Yeah, Plato's.
Any other clubs?
Broadway 96, Roseland all the time. Chuck Leonard was a personal friend of mine because we were in so many competitions there. We were very well known in Roseland. Studio 54, God, Garage was there. My friend was a DJ there, Robert Clavillis from Clavillis and Cole.
Okay.
They sang Everybody Get Down. They were the ones that sang. He was the DJ for that song.
Gotcha.
So we used to go there a lot. But it depends what we wanted to do. If you wanted to break dance, we go to dance clubs. Break dance clubs like Roxy's or something like that. But there are also guys who want to meet girls. So you go to Bond, you go to different clubs where you could dance with women. Because there's no way you're going to go up to a girl and say, hey, how you doing? Spin on your head, pop up and go, you like that? You're not going to get anywhere. So you have to, separate them, the break dancing from the actual dancing, from what do you want to do with yourself tonight? Do you want to meet somebody or do you want to battle somebody? So it's always different.
All right. So you know what? Since we touched on women, talk to us about some of the dynamic Rockettes. Some of the memorable personalities and who they were.
We had the Rockettes. They were Missy. She was an up rocker. She was the up rock, and she was on the floor.
What year was she with the crew?
Since the beginning. Since me. I'd say in the 70s, 79? Yeah, Missy was one of the first. She used to go out. His name wasn't Sarge. His name, I'm trying to remember his name. He was one of our old up rockers, but he passed away. He was shot, unfortunately. Vice. She was his girlfriend. He was one of our guys, one of our main guys. We lost him. We had so many people. Sarge was another guy that we had There were so many teams.
Right.
You couldn't keep track of everybody. There was Jessie Jess, who, if some of the interviews come out that we've done, she'll be in it, because she was like the president of the girls division. Okay. She was Glide's girlfriend at the time, but became mine. That was an accident. And that caused trouble in the crew too. That was another time the crew wanted to battle me because of a girl. Actually, I had a problem. I was mujeriego. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I love women. I'm sorry, I was me. So I would always do that. I get myself in a lot of trouble. Who else? Jenny, my sister. She was a rocker too. She used to get on the floor, but there weren't any real moves back then. We're talking about the 70s, so it was only like a 6-step or a 4-step or a freeze on the side. But it's not like now. You look at the girls now; they're doing air flares. They're doing crazy moves, elbow spins. I mean, it's a complete different game now. The girls have leveled up quite a bit, not like we used to. Awesome. Then there was the Breakers came out with a crew as well, and they claimed to be the first girl crew. But how could they be the first girl crew? There were Rockettes back in the 70s.
Dynamic Breakers.
Yeah, they made the dynamic dolls.
Got it.
They were basically very good, and I'll give you the credit, very good freestyle dancers. Phenomenal. They taught me.
Like freestyle rocking?
No, freestyle dancing, spinning around, doing moves, just dancing. They were very good, all of them. But there was not one single breaker in that whole crew. That's what bothered me. You had Juancho and Camo, who were gymnasts, acrobats. Again, incredible. These guys were great. Airborne was the closest one. He was the gymnast. We turned him into a b-boy. And he was good. He was good because he had the agility. Then the other one was Spider, who was the contortionist. The guy who put the legs around his head and the spider.
Right.
Loved him. He was so entertaining. If anything, Dynamic was entertaining. You know, where he brought routines to the game. Because before Dynamic, crews used to battle one guy after another guy after another guy after another guy. It got boring. So we're like, all right, let's do a pyramid. One guy flipped this way, one guy flipped that way, one guy grabbed a guy's ear. Whatever we could think of, we would do. And our routines were phenomenal. And everybody, oh, you're flying fairies. You guys, that's nothing, blah, 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 talked about us. A year later, we're watching one of their shows in Europe, and guess whose routine they're rocking, and whose clothes they're rocking, and whose haircut they were rocking. The flying fairies. Yeah. So we did something right because everybody who kicked us copied us. They mimicked us like you wouldn't believe. There's a crew in Brooklyn. Well, they're going to get on me for this one, but Furious Rockers. Oh, my God, every single routine was us. I saw a routine the other day, and I called Glide. Glide, when were they at practice? Because that was our routine from the beginning to the end.
Did any routines have any certain names that you're referring to?
Coming at You. Coming at You was one where we would build pyramids with openings. And then 2 guys would crisscross diving over the top. The 2 guys on here would dive off the pyramid in a backflip and keep flipping. And then these 3 guys would go into a back bend. And then 2 guys would flip and do flips over them and land. That's what we were part of. It was always like flying all over the place. So it kept you entertained. Like back then, a lot of the routines, and I'm going to show you, this is what the routine entitled. We're all like this. We put the music on. Boom. And then one guy would go out. Then the next guy would go out. Then the next guy would go out. It was boring. So we decided, hey, let's do something different. Let's keep the motion, the movement constant. You keep constant movement, you keep people entertained. But once that movement stops, people get bored. And that's not what they pay for. And if you're part of a show and you're out there to supply something and act, you can't do that. And that's what kept us different from everyone else. Because everyone else would just go out there. You go, okay, my turn. I'll go, la, 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 and that was it. What else? It was different. While one guy's going out, one guy's doing something over there. I'm in the corner popping. And then in between, it all comes together. as a whole, as a routine, and then it breaks up into individual moves, and then it'll come whole as a routine. So there's always something to look at. Like if you were sitting in this section and you couldn't see the guy over there, that's fine, because somebody on this side over here is going crazy, and you get to see what they're doing. So, you know, show business.
Any crew, any routine that you want to give respect to that, you know, you guys went up against that you want to say? Gotcha.
Sorry. Okay, yes. I'm glad you asked that question. Unique styles. Unique styles, pretty sure that was their name. I know Unique is in there, or Unique Dancers. They were freestyle dancers. They had incredible routines. These guys were good. They encouraged us to work harder on our routines. They had one where they had 3 men on the floor, and then this guy would roll over, this guy would dive over. There was a constant motion with 3 guys going like this. We did something better. We did 9 guys, and then we did 18. So not only did we jump this way, but we jumped that way. So there's always constant motion of bodies flying through the air. And like I said, something's constant, it's entertaining. So that was our routine.
Cool.
Okay. But yeah, unique dancers, yes, they were very good.
Got it. Look, you're from Queens. I'm representing the Bronx County Historical Society.
Yes, sir.
With that said, I'm from the Lower East Side. So, any crews from the Lower East Side you recall?
Yeah,
you know?
The popping crews. What were they called? My friend Bam Bam, Louie New Wave, Screwy Louie, all of our poppers, they're all from LES. Float, you've heard of Float.
Yes.
Float's a legend. Rest in peace. Lower East Side. Bam Bam, all over the place. Lower East Side. Louie, New Wave.
Yes, sir.
God rest his soul. Lower East Side. Screwy Louie, crazy guy. Lower East Side. You know, there's so many. I think John Leguizamo was from the Lower East Side as well. And there's another actor, the chunky guy who's got the...
Luis Guzman.
Yes, him. My friends were neighbors of his. I used to see him all the time.
Awesome. So, can you talk to me about any collaborations with DJs and any DJs you're willing to name that maybe created some tracks for you guys to break to?
Sure. When we worked, most of our dancing at Club USA, there was a DJ there, Baby J, pretty well known back then. He worked a lot with us, our music. He knows what we like to dance to. He knew what songs would really rev us up and get us going. There are different kinds of DJs. There are DJs that did weddings, bar mitzvahs, parties, yada, yada. Then you got these other guys that just like to play music. Then you got break DJs, where they know how to break a beat. If you don't know how to go from one into another and let it flow, you're going to mess up the dancer, because he's going to be in the middle of a move and something goes the wrong way, and he's like, what do I do now? Because you're messing up his flow by changing your flow. And a lot of DJs back then didn't know how to do it yet. It grew as it went on. Like Kool Herc, first guy to DJ. Then everybody else picked it up. They didn't all do it right, like Kool Herc did, but they tried. Baby J at USA worked a lot with us. We had Tony Humphreys, who worked Roseland all the time. He was like one of our DJs. Jelly Bean Benitez from the Funhouse. That was my buddy. I used to hang out with him from day one, even before he met the blonde chick. It was a lot of fun. They would work with us because they were curious. Not only were we needing them to give us something to dance to, but they wanted to know what made us move. So we had to actually basically a lot of times sit in DJ booths, especially Tony Humphreys. Me, him, and Baby J, very close. We would sit there and put the music. And when I sit there and they see me doing this, that becomes part of a cut. Because when it moves somebody, when it gets somebody's body to move, without subconsciously, because I want to sit there and listen to the music and go, oh yeah, that's a beat. No, it's my body by itself. It would just start going. Once that happens and it's beyond my control, that's where they take over. And they turn it into more, and they turn it into more. Not all DJs could do that. Nowadays, I really don't listen to enough of it, because how far can you take something? I mean, you can take something so far, the scratching and everything, but then after a while, like I mentioned to the Boogaloo guys, it becomes repetitious. You never want to become repetitious. You become repetitious, you become boring, people look the other way, they forget about you. So you always got to keep something different. I have a good friend of mine. Okay, I used to dance with him all the time in the clubs. Never knew his name, but I used to call him Pigeon Head because it looked like a pigeon pooped on his hair. He had dye on his hair, so it was all white shooting around. He was a popper, a magician popper. The guy would grab the ball and go like this, make it disappear, come out of this hand. He used magic for his popping. The guy was incredible. I used to go to competitions. I couldn't beat the guy. If I battled the guy one-on-one with no magic, I would destroy him. But once that guy got on stage and started his act, I would just sit there and suck my thumb because there was nothing I could do. The guy was, yeah, you got to see this guy. He was a good friend of mine. So I used to enjoy watching him dance a lot. You have to always keep things interesting. You know, it just, you can't just, you got to bring change. Everything's always got to have change. Just like when we first came around, everybody thought we were gangsters. Everybody thought we were bad guys. We were going to kill people. We're going to rob people. Hip hop. Oh my God, we're going to get destroyed. What's going to happen? It's not like that. Most people you meet in hip hop are the most genuine, nicest people you ever want to meet. And if you don't believe me, please come to one of the events and experience it. I go all the time and never had a problem at an event. It's all about enjoying each other's company, enjoying what we've brought, enjoying what we've done, being a part of it all together. You know, we're all like family. You got to see us at events. It's all hugs and kisses the whole day. Sweet. You know, the guy you just mentioned before you interviewed, that man is a hero, man. He's a great dancer. Goes back a long time. Awesome. And you can tell, even for his age, some of the bones may not move the way they used to, but he's still got it. Did you see him dance?
Yeah. Who are we talking about?
This guy, what's his name? Frank?
Papa Rojas.
Papa Rojas. I would say Frank. I don't know why it's Frank. Yeah, Papa Rojas. Watch him dance. Like, the guy can dance. He's a little older. The body doesn't move like it used to, but you can tell that's a person that it comes from inside, that he's a dancer. There's people that could do movers, but then there's dancers. I considered myself a dancer because I concentrated more on the dancing. And with popping, what's so really, I'm sorry, because I know I jump around a lot because different ideas pop into my head. But with popping, it's like, I don't know if you remember the old Sinbad movies where they had the skeletons, the way they moved, like this.
Right.
You watch those movies, and that's where we get our ideas. You know, instead of like with a knife slashing like this, and it all turns like into a robotic move. And you watch them and you mimic them. You turn into one of those robotic characters. And that's where we get our ideas from movies like that. So many poppers, those are their styles. You ask them, oh, Sinbad this, the Seventh Voyage, or this dragon, or this demon in the movie. We copy them.
Any memorable MCs, that, hyped up the crowd for you guys ever worked with?
Run DMC, baby, all day long. They were our friends. They were good people.
You performed with them on stage?
We didn't get to perform with them because a brawl broke out, and a lot of the clubs that we went to, we never got to do a show with them. But we were in shows with them where they performed and then we performed. Fresh 14, which was run by a European gentleman by the name of Mush, he had them on, and we did a show with them. And I actually got to go on stage with them.
What year was this?
God. Maybe early 80s, 82. It was called Club Fresh on 14th Street, across the street from the park.
Got it.
A guy named Mush used to run it. And it was really cool. I saw them there. They performed there. LL Cool J, Starsky, all these guys. Back in Jamaica, Queens, they used to go to a lot of events at the Boys Club. So we used to see them there a lot. It wouldn't be so difficult in the beginning because in the beginning they weren't as popular or as famous. So they exposed themselves all. They wanted the exposure, so they were always all over the place. So you got to these guys on the regular. Nowadays, no, it's not like it used to be. It's not like I'm going to walk down the block. Hey, LL. Last time I saw him, I took one of my ex-girlfriends to a lunch, and he was having lunch with his wife. And I'm like, you want to meet him? You want to say hi? You don't know him. You don't know him. I'm like, come on, let's take a walk. So the minute I turn around the corner, I go, Spinner. She was like, how do you know him? I'm like, my buddy. I'm like, what's up, dude? How's it going? I'm like, I'm not going to keep you busy. It's her birthday. She just wants to say hi. And she said hello, and then she walked away. And said, oh, my God. But it's not a big deal. It's something that I knew in the past when he first started. I was a regular guy, you know, with the big Kango and my radio and stuff like that. He's come a long way between acting, between rapping. See, that's what you got to do. People don't realize, like a lot of these b-boys or dancers, that's as far as they go. They dance, that's it, I'm good. See, Glide is smart. Glide dances, but yet he's got the company. Yet he's got 100 different things going at one time. Trust me, he's a good friend of mine. We grew up together. He calls me for everything. He tries to get me involved in everything. And I tried a few. Some of them were good. Some of them I don't have the time to put in that I need to for something like that. But smart guy.
Okay. Any dynamic rockers were writers?
I wrote graffiti, not professional level. Kid named Foam, who did flyers for us, he wrote graffiti. Nice. His brother was part of a band. He was
How do you spell his tag?
Fome.
Fome. And he did a lot of flyers for dynamic rockers.
No, he was going to make one for us. When Doze made the one for the Lincoln Center battle, we were going to counter that with our own flyer. So he made one for us. It was really good. But we didn't have the management, we didn't have the right exposure, we didn't have the people we needed to get these out there. We had our own, we passed them out to as many people as we could, but it wasn't as many. But we had graffiti writers that we worked with. There's a graffiti writer, KR1, who just came out with a book, very famous graffiti writer. He wants to work with us so much. Every time I talk to him, he's like, come on, let's do something. And he's very good.
Got it. So what did you write?
First, it was ELO, E-L-O. Then I did Spinner. And then in the beginning, I started with 2 Mad. Number 2 and then the word Mad. That was my first name. And then I went to ELO because Elio, they took the I out, and I used to like Electric Light Orchestra back in the day. I tell you, I like rock and roll. I used to like the group. So I like ELO. So ELO I put everywhere until I became a B-boy, then Spinner. But Spinner was long. It took me a while to get that one up there. I used to go on the trains, ride on the trains, all that good stuff.
Right. Hey, how has breaking, b-boying impacted you and your family life in your future? You know, what has it brought to you now?
Memories, a future that I want my kids to see. I want my kids to see what their father did, how you could lead a good life away from drugs, from negative things, where you can grow up and be successful. You know, if you put your mind, and I use myself as an example in a failure kind of way. And I don't want it to sound negative, but it's more of a lesson. Because if I would have continued what I was doing in dancing and not had given up and went on to something else, and I didn't have much of a choice, I became a dad. I would never turn my back on my kids for anything in the world. So I chose them over dancing. But you know, when you want to do something in life and you really want to be successful in it, you have to stick to it. Don't ever second guess yourself. Do it. You want support yourself. Your family, they'll support you eventually, but you've got to support yourself. You have to just keep fighting for what you believe in. I didn't. I gave up. And I consider myself a failure because of that. Now, see, sometimes I use harsh words. Not a failure, but a failure for giving up. A failure for not continuing doing what I'm doing. There's guys out there right now that are millionaires. They're making a ton of money off of this dance that I should be making, that I should have done. But because I didn't, and I can't get mad at them because they did what I should have done. And I've kept up with it and go on. And when they say, let's travel here, let's go. They just tell me, oh, let's travel here. We had a trip to South Africa. I went on a date.
What year did you go to South Africa?
Oh, this was in the mid-'80s. It was in Johannesburg, Sun City, in Durban, South Africa.
Tell us about your experience on a tour in South Africa.
I didn't know. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I didn't go because of a girl.
Who went?
Glide. Well, it started with Kid Freeze and Mr. Freeze from Rocksteady. I thought Kid Freeze and Rocksteady were close. Kid Freeze, and that's what brings a lot of the problems with Dynamic and Kid Freeze. Kid Freeze, we were all so dedicated to Dynamic. We were Dynamic, and that's it. Kid Freeze was Dynamic. He hung out with Rocksteady. He hung out with New York City Breakers. He hung out with these guys. So it alienated him from some of the guys. Didn't bother me one bit, but some of the guys took it wrong. They took it as he's dynamic, and that's it. He can't hang out with anybody else. But now I see how foolish that was, because I have so many friends that are in other crews, and we're great friends. And it doesn't bother me one bit where they're at or what they're doing. They dance with me. I have friends all over Boston, the Forwards. They're all good friends of mine. They're poppers. They're all good friends of mine. When we see each other, we dance against everybody else. We don't dance against each other. We're friends. You know, you gotta learn how to separate things. You know, we had certain people in our crew that didn't, and they ruined it for everybody. We should have been so much more. But because of certain egos and certain manipulative people in our crew, we stayed where we were at. I won't say any names.
All right. Were you ever able to go on any tours in the States? You know, traveling?
Oh, yeah, all the time. We've been all over the States.
Tell
we
us
went to
about
Vienna, Austria. We were in Austria with the guys that sing. It was the girl from New York City, Manhattan Special. We were on show with them and Al Jarreau. Al Jarreau was a famous black guy, an old singer. We went on tour with them. We did some stuff with Soul Sonic, certain rappers. But traveling, I did some, not as much as I would have liked to. And I would like to do a lot more. I would have loved to go into Germany again. I would have liked to go to France again. I would have liked to go, Japan. I never went to Japan. I never did the China, Japan trip. And it's an incredible trip. They treat you so well, and just the culture over there is so much different. You'd be surprised. Like in New York, B-boy is B-boy. When you go around the world and you see what this thing has become, wow, man, wow. And me, I've gone to events. I don't know anybody. I walk in, ladies and gentlemen, Spinner from Dynamic. An hour later, I got 1,000 friends. 1,000 people talking to me, 1,000 people asking me, how was it? How did you like it? What happened? Were they any good? Was this guy any good? Tell me more about this one. Tell me more about that one. I love that stuff.
Awesome.
I wanted to bring my kids. I'm like, you guys ain't come. I'm like, I want them right here. I want them to hear the story, When we go places and I see people, they're like, Dad, you're famous. Look at Wikipedia. I'm in Wikipedia. I created a move. If you ever see people spinning on one hand, they call it a 90. I call it a hand spin. I made that move up. I didn't. It's a capoeira move, but I interpreted it into breaking. It was never used into breaking. I brought it to breaking, and I'm the one who's responsible for that move. So
Brazilian capoeira.
Huh?
Brazilian capoeira.
Yeah, the hand spin. You ever see when they spin on one hand?
Yes.
That. We call it a 90. All right. Ken Swift came out with a move called the 1990. And it was basically he would go up on his left hand in a handstand and with his right shoulder dive into a backspin. So that was his 1990. I seen him doing this thing, and I'm like, what if you stay on your hand and you just spin like a head spin, but on your hand? I'm going to go try it. 3 weeks later, dislocated shoulder, almost broke my arm and everything, but I got the move, and I was down to about anywhere between 5 to 12 spins. They got guys out there now that do 50 spins. Yeah. But if you go online, look up Wikipedia, creator of the 1990s, Elio Perez, dynamic rockers, continuous head spins. You'll see Clemento Moreno, Kid Freeze, They have mentioned. So I am happy that I am accredited with the move, because in the beginning they were trying to accredit it with Rocksteady. There's a certain move that pushes everything to Rocksteady. They did everything. They created everything. And nothing, like I always say it, not jealousy, nothing against them. It's what's right and what's wrong, right? Kenny came up to me. And he goes, I saw Wikipedia. I'm like, he goes, congratulations. He goes, you are right. He goes, I'm not going to call you a liar. Crazy Legs called you a liar 20 times already. But I'm going to tell you, yeah, you're right. That wasn't what I created. Your move was a handspin. I created the tuck backspin. I'm like, yeah, all right. Hey, listen, I'm not arguing with you. You've always been my friend. You know, just certain people like to talk. And you can't stop that. It's just natural. With him, it was always like that. You know how many times I've called this guy out on the dance floor? Crazy Legs. Never, not once would he get out there. Kid Freeze, I seen him Mr. Freeze, I seen him about a year ago. It was great to see him. We hated each other. We used to battle all the time. He was my nemesis, Mr. Freeze. So he's the reason why I got from breakdancing to popping. Me and him were like one of the only breakdancer poppers in the world. And I was the only breakdancer, popper, father and son team besides Mr. Wiggles for a while with his son. Well, we smoked them. We battled them. Oh, that was good.
Talk to us about your son. You got your son involved in popping.
My son, no, breaker. He was
breaker.
A breaker.
Okay.
He started in popping. We used to go to a jam in Rhode Island, thrown by the, oh God, it was called Spin Factor. It's thrown by the Ground Effects crew. Babel's in. I don't know if you ever heard of Babel. Babel's a crazy powerhouse. Good friend of ours. They started throwing an event called Spin Factor, and they started inviting us every year. And we would go to that event. And my son entered the popping contest the first couple of years. They were pretty good. One of the last ones turned out into a big fight. I don't know if you heard of Bionic. He's a Filipino kid who pops. He's really good. He was one of the judges. And there was a guy named Fidesz, this big Moreno martial artist that thought he won and wanted to fight the world. Finally had to throw a chair at him to shut him up. But he didn't win. I'm like, look, I'm just being honest. It has nothing to do with Bionic. Bionic. The guy's really good. He's way better than Fidesz. And he beat you because he's better than you, not because of who you are. He goes, no, it's all personal because these guys don't like me. I'm like, bro, I don't know you. So how could it be personal? I don't know him either. How is it personal? You know, it's just.
What year did you compete with your son?
My son for years. I'd say from 85 through 1990.
Wow.
We were the only father and son crew. I'm going to send you a battle, a whole battle of me and my son were in it. It was, and that wasn't even dynamic. I was a Ground Effects, the guys I tell you from Rhode Island. It was Ground Effects against the Brakes crew. I don't know if you ever heard of Brakes crew.
Okay.
Chino and them. And we battled at the Roxy. I have that video. I'll send it to you.
So how many other crews have you been with? You said
I've always been dynamic.
Always dynamic?
Dynamic is number one, first and foremost. Ground Effects is my family.
Got it.
They're my family. They took me in and they treated me like a brother. Dynamic is, that's it. The beginning, the end, everything that I'm about is dynamic. But I gotta give love to people who gave me love. And Ground Effects always gave me as much, if not more, love than my own crew.
Wow.
I battled dynamic with Ground Effects. I battled my own crew. I battled Bam Bam, my student. That was a great battle. We smoked them. And I loved it because Victor was one of the judges. And he goes, oh, Spin, go with dynamic. And I'm like, no, but these are my boys. And the reason why I joined with them is because this is the second part to a battle. So it was the ESPN and FILA were sponsoring it. It was the breakdance contest at the Skate Key. We took the first one.
What year was this?
In the 80s, the late 80s. Mid to late 80s. I'll get you the exact date because it's on the video. It's on the video.
Cool.
And that's the second battle. The first battle we took. No, this is the one that we won. I'm sorry. This is the one that we did win. The one that we battled breakthrough. We lost the second battle. We went against the Brat Steady crew, which was K-Mel, all the Rock Steady, like VIP, the who's of breakdancing against Ground Effects. So now they got another crew that they made up to battle Ground Effects, just like they used to do with Dynamic. And that night, one of my popping friends from Massachusetts, Shallow, was a judge. And Glide was a judge, Crazy Legs was a judge, and a couple of other guys. And the final battle was Ground Effects crew with myself against KML and they weren't Boogie Brat. They were called the Brat Steady crew, or the Brat Steady crew. And there was a mixture of Rocksteady and the Boogie Brats. I don't know if you know what KML is?
No.
He used to be the best b-boy on the planet, black guy, big tall black guy.
Awesome.
Best
I'd love to interview him.
Yeah. best b-boy on the planet. Now he's got into a different kind of dancing, which makes him look retarded. I don't know what he's doing. I think he's on drugs. That's on him. But he's got a different kind of style. They had a competition recently. Red Bull. Oh God! You know what? I need to send you emails. It was recent, like 3 days ago, and he was in it. You'll see his style of dancing, how it's changed from a b-boy to this style of dance. It's a nice style. It's just different. It's not b-boy. It's not hip hop. It's more like loft dancing and stuff like that.
But regardless, he was one of the top b-boys.
KML, yeah, oh yeah, KML, Reveal. This is the early '80s. This is like the guys that were the names back then. But they fall. Everybody falls. You know, Kid Freeze was the king of the world. He could barely walk now. His knees are about this big each. Well, people, they change. Time goes on. Poppin' Taco, best popper I've ever met, passed away a couple of months ago. You know? Great guy.
Got it.
Just time goes on, people change.
So in the breakdancing world of today, how are you involved? Do you show up for events?
I go to events. I judge if they ask me to judge. I do panel discussions. You sit down there, they ask you questions. You get to argue with some of the other guys that don't agree with you. And there's been some that I enter just for the heck of it, or I judge. I like judging. I get called out sometimes when I judge, which is fun.
All right.
Because you can beat them and then they look even dumber than they did in the beginning. And I tell them, this dance is, it's not a negative dance, but it's about making people look stupid. You got to remember what big dancing is all about. It's a means to avoid a fight, but yet there still has to be a certain amount of violence in it to leave someone satisfied. One of the two guys that's battling has to leave satisfied or this wasn't accomplished. We said this was done to avoid fighting. In a fight, there's always a winner and a loser. There's always somebody that walks away satisfied. Okay, I did good. This guy deserved what he got. Just like with breakdancing. With breakdancing, you got somebody who calls you out, who talks about you for your whole life. You finally see him in a circle. You're going to call him out. You're going to throw everything at him you could possibly throw at him to make him look stupid. My son, all right, here's a quick story. My son was at an event, I believe this was in Pennsylvania.
Does he have a b-boy name?
Yeah. It was a b-boy event. He battled. He wasn't battling. He was in the competitions. There was a kid named Zeno. He's from Florida. He's very good friends with the Ground Effects crew. I love Ground Effects. They remind me a lot of us when we were young because they're very aggressive and they're tough. And I love watching them dance. They know that. They know Bebo and all of them. I mean, Bebe and Boo Rock and all of them. I just seen them recently. And you got Fat. Anyway, these guys were like, their whole method of dancing is just so tough. It's a tough dance. And to me, they represent b-boy. It's not about friendship. It's not about shaking a hand at the end of competition. Even though it's nice to do that. But b-boy's actual definition is to make somebody look stupid. It's to fight without fighting. Like Capuletta. They don't really beat the hell out of each other. They do moves. They counter the moves and somebody wins. Same thing with b-boying. Unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't go that way. And they do, they have altercations. Usually they're stopped right away. It's gotten a lot better, I have to say. Because I've seen some b-boys go at it recently and they stopped right away. And they both get disqualified and kicked out. There's no playing anymore.
So, Paris, 2024, breaking as a Olympic event. Talk to us about your thoughts.
Okay. We talked about this my whole life. This is something that we've talked about since we were kids. Because when we see gymnasts doing flares and we see b-boys doing air flares or other moves that way better than that, why can't we be there? But then I answered myself when I actually watched. B-boys are a little sloppy. Olympians got to be 10. B-boys are like a 6 or a 7 on the scale because they don't perfect moves. They do moves until they feel they got the move and then they go on to the next move. Gymnasts perfect the move till it can't be done any better. B-boys don't do that. We don't give it the time because we're so busy trying to move on to the next move to compete with the next guy that it doesn't turn out the way it should. B-boying in the Olympics. I'm very happy that it is in the Olympics. I just want to see the way it's going to be run the first time around. France is getting too involved, and France has nothing to do with b-boying. A kid named Storm, very famous b-boy, he's running a lot of it. He's a good guy, he's a great b-boy, but it's not about France, man, it's about New York. I think everything that had to do with that competition should have been New York-based b-boys, judges, panelists, where it came from, man. We did this. France had nothing to do with this. Nothing. Not that I'm kicking you. You guys are great. You got great crews. I respect a lot of you. But it's a New York dance. It's something we did. So I think at least the first time around, we deserve that respect. We deserve to be there. Some of us are going to be there that I know, but they're still not New Yorkers. You know, from Florida, from California, the USA, but not New York. And New York is where it started. It didn't start in LA, it didn't start in Chicago, it didn't start in Florida. It started in New York. Let the guys from New York. Even if you bring Rocksteady there, I don't care. Just people from New York. Do it the right way. I want to see the point system. There are certain b-boys that have developed point systems that are decent. There's some that I don't agree with. So we'll see. I don't want to see the left hand go up or the right hand go up. Who's going to win? This side wins, that side wins. No, man, take your time. Judge them on points on what they did, because just because you go down once, your power move came out horrible, your footwork is beautiful, your freeze works are beautiful, and everything else is beautiful, but your power moves are horrible. Okay, he shouldn't get a 4 or a 3. All his other moves are great. He messed up, give him a 7 or an 8. Learn, come up with a system that you can judge, but not by one move, but by his whole go down. And that's the problem. The system that they got going right now, it's all about moves. It's not the whole thing. It's got to be a complete set. How are they going to judge routines? Who's going to judge routines? Who's going to be the judges? The judges, what do they know about b-boying to judge? What are their credentials? It's so many things up in the air right now that we don't know. Nobody's going to really know about b-boying in the Olympics until it actually happens, and we see how wonderful it is or what a piece of shit it became. I'm sorry for cursing. You haven't heard one the whole time, but that's what we're going to see. We're either going to see something that's going to make a big impact and it's going to go on for years and years, or something we'll never see again. And I'm afraid that it'll turn into something we'll never see again.
Got you. So what do you think about the efforts in teaching b-boy today and b-boy academies and dance schools?
Love it.
Any one in particular you want to talk about?
Well, I'm going to talk about Glide, of course, with Kids Breaking League, man. Listen, let's be real. He started it. He's the first one I've seen with a class, with a school, with a league for kids, where he actually competes with other schools. It's not just about his school. He's got a bunch of other schools that he competes with. He's got his team. I've worked with his team. They're really good. They're very talented. They've got,
And Glide's son runs that now, right?
Yeah.
Kid Glide.
They're in the city by, I'll tell them. We go there a lot. We go, me, Wavy Legs, go sometimes, and Kid Freezer go to help the kids out, to get them inspired and stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Pop in celebrities.
Yeah, it's fun, dude. It's a lot of fun. The last time we went, we had New York City Breakers. Their Pecs came down with Chino and them. And, it's good for them to see other b-boys and to learn a little from everybody. The only thing is that we're tough on them. We're really tough on these kids. There's one little Asian kid that I love. He's going to be so good. So good. Then we got a girl named Crazy, Big Blanquita. She's incredible. They got her judging now, too. So she's going to be judging a competition, I think tomorrow with Glide. So they're coming along. I love the idea. I love it. It's all over the world. Please, people, just let it happen. Let these kids learn. Teach them not just b-boying, but the fundamentals of life. And don't take credit for it.
Got it.
Let it just happen, man. Because a lot of people, they're going to be, we started this, we started it. No, you didn't. Just help the kids. That's all. That's what you're there for. Not to take credit. Forget about this. The world isn't about this. When you die, none of this goes with you. Trust me, I know. I don't know. What else would you like to know?
Awesome. Well, I mean, you've been answering great. There's an anniversary coming up. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, finally, it's been about 5 or 6 years since we had one. I think it's in June. I just got the paperwork maybe 2 days ago. It's a 3-day anniversary. We usually start Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Sunday's the big concert with the DJ, with the acts and stuff like that. Usually starts with some graffiti, some dancing, and then we have B-Boy Massacre, which is part of it. And B-Boy Massacre is just a competition, 2-on-2 in a crew battle. A lot of fun. It all depends on the venue, what venue we get. One year we got a venue on 45th Street, I believe, on like 13th floor. Great. We had so much room. The floor was beautiful. Everything was great. There's years that we don't get great venues. One in East New York one year, I thought I was going to get robbed before I got home. It depends on the venue. But, I'll be supportive. I'll be there every day. I'll be talking to people every day and make the most of it. They're fun. But like I said, because Dynamic wasn't managed properly, didn't have the right connections, it could be so much more. Like if you go, well, they don't do them anymore, the old Rocksteady reunion at the Chelsea Piers and stuff. I don't know if you ever went to those.
No.
It was fucking incredible, man. They had Fat Boy, all these DJs, all these like famous people. They had the clout, they had the connections, they did the right thing.
Good.
Nothing. I love my guys. Dynamic. I'll always be dynamic. If I had to go back 50 years and change it, I wouldn't change a damn thing because I love my life. I loved the way we did. I loved all the fun that we had doing it. Even the fights we had. Me and Glide. But I love him. He's my brother, man. Me and Wade like. But we get over shit. We sit down. We talk. Life goes on. Let's go get it. Take it out on the dance floor. We've never hit each other. We never fought. Nothing physical. It was always just, we understood each other, and that separated us from a lot of crews. Rocksteady. We were killing each other. There was no need for that, Buck Fork Kuriaki. Did you hear about that?
No.
Yeah, there were two of the members two young, talented kids killed each other over drugs. It was bullshit. With us, we don't allow that. There was no smoking in Dynamic. There was no drugs in Dynamic. You were not allowed. I smoked cigarettes. I've done drugs in my life. I'm not perfect, but I learned from it, and I stopped. But we got to the point where we said enough is enough. And I remember one day I was sitting in the living room, and I went to light up a cigarette, and all of a sudden I got 20 kids beating the hell out of me. And it's my friends, Right. And I wasn't mad at them. I was like, all right, hold on. I'm going to bring you a couch. Let me put it down. Okay, now beat my hand. Put my head down. And then it was over with, and I didn't smoke until I got outside and I was alone. But we all helped each other out, man. We did. Some of us had alcohol problems. We helped each other out with that. Those who messed around with things they weren't supposed to, we helped each other.
Family.
Yeah, you have to. That's what it's all about, family. That's what separated us from everybody else.
What does b-boying mean to you?
Life. My whole life. To me, and some people will say, oh, you're a hypocrite because you're not at all the jams and this or that. You don't have to be at every single jam to love something, B-boying, I've never done any time. I've never hurt anybody. I've never robbed anybody. I've never done anything evil to anybody. Brought me closer to God. It's done just so much for me. My older son, God knows what would have happened during his younger years if he wasn't b-boying, My older kids now, my little ones now, I wish they were here. I wish they would listen. I wish they would do it. But I can't really complain because I got a son who graduated valedictorian. I got a daughter who's a 99 average. They're both going Ivy League schools. So, okay, they didn't b-boy, but they're doing this. Hey, you know what? I'll take it. You got to be proud. And that's what I was missing when I was their age. I didn't have that. And that's why I want them to have it.
Awesome. You brought another shirt here, another Dynamic shirt.
The blue one is yours.
You want to show it? Yeah, we'll keep it in the archives.
Yeah, it's yours.
Yeah.
They gave it to me.
Want to display it a little bit?
I never wore it, bro. It's just been in a drawer for like 8 years, I think.
You want to hold it up and kind of display it if you don't mind?
Yeah. I wish I had the other one. The other one was nice because it was brighter colored.
You got Dynamic rockers on the side there. It's a tank top, established 1979. Awesome.
Actually, let's be really realistic. It wasn't 79, more like 77, 76. Let me go down for a minute. Hold on. It was more, all of our stuff says 79 because that's when we really started getting serious about doing shows and stuff like that. But Dynamic's definitely been around since 77 or 78 because I remember I was only 12 or 13 when I first started dancing, and that was around that time. We put 79 because I guess to the best of our knowledge, that's what we remember. But we were around a couple of years. I'm not going to say 10 or 20 years before that, but I'd say 77 is when Dynamic first started.
Awesome. Elio Perez, aka Spinner, from the Dynamic Rockers. Thank you for your testimonial for the Bronx Hip Hop Documentary Project. Peace.
My pleasure, guys. Thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me be a part of it. If there's anything else you guys ever need, I'm here at your service, man. God bless you guys. God bless the Bronx, and God bless hip hop.
Peace.
See you guys soon.